Hello, my name is Arleesha and welcome to this Chibi eye painting tutorial. This tutorial is going to be broken down into 5 parts: the white color base, the iris color base, the iris color highlight, the pupil, and the highlight. And as you can tell by the title of this video, we're also going to be addressing some common mistakes that you may make while painting, not just eyes, but any painting, because, well, to be honest, this painting didn't exactly go the way I had planned. As you'll be able to see here, one of the very first things I did, which is not uncommon for me, was to just get paint everywhere. Basically, all outside of the eye, that very first eye just turned into a really big mess, and I was feeling actually pretty discouraged. But I kind of stuck to it and I kept going, and I said, okay, I'll use this as an opportunity to show people what happens when you make this mistake, because this kind of thing really does happen all the time, but fortunately it's pretty easy to fix. The easiest way I've found to do this is to take your skin color, usually something closer to your highlight color, and just go around and touch up all those parts around the eye that got white on them. And you're going to feel so relieved when you take that skin color and you put it on and you go, oh my gosh, it looks so much better. Now, sometimes you'll get the skin color on the eye and then you have to go backwards and put white over the part where you got skin color, but just be patient and you'll get there. Now I'm just going to go in and touch up those spots where I actually didn't put enough white on the eye. We're just going to make sure we have a nice solid base to work on to start adding our next step, which is that base iris color. This character, Johan, has blue eyes, so we're using a slightly darker blue for the base color. And what I generally recommend when you're doing this is to start from the center of your pupil and work your way out so you get a nice rounded centered eye. And I didn't do that here, and the result was my edges were sloppy and it wasn't the right size and it wasn't smooth, and I was really unhappy with how it turned out. But I ended up doing the same thing I did with the skin, which was just to take some of the white and smooth up that edge, which didn't go the way I wanted because I ended up covering up too much of the blue. So I had to take the blue again and get the right shape, but eventually I did get there. It was a little hard because I had to keep in mind that the second eye is a little bit smaller than the other one, just because of the direction that he's facing, so you get that scale. But with a little bit of patience and a little bit of paint, I did get there. And oh, don't forget, you don't want to have too much paint on your brush. You'll see with my white, that was the problem that I had, was I had too much paint when I put the white over the blue, and I ended up I wasn't in control of the color. Step 3 is the iris highlight color. For me, this ended up being a light blue, but you're going to want to go for just a lighter shade of whatever your base eye color is. Now, the most important part of this highlight color is actually more at the bottom. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have an oval shape at the bottom, and at the top, you'll see on the one eye I did more of like a crescent shape. You can see it's not totally filled in at the top. The other side, it's just kind of straight across, and it doesn't matter too much when you're doing a highlight of this style because the pupil is basically just going to cover it up anyway. Each layer up to this point has sat inside and on top of the previous layer. The base color sat on top of the white, the highlight sat on top of the base color, and it's the same thing for the pupil. That black oval is just going to sit right on top of and inside of our highlight color. So when you draw your elongated oval onto the eye, you're going to want to keep it inside of the highlight color so that still shows on the outer edge. And for step 5, the highlight, you're just going to take a little bit of white coming in from the outside, so where that white already is on the back, and just drawing a line part of the way in all the way to the pupil. And by connecting the white from the outside and coming into the pupil, it really does just give a completed chibi anime style look to these eyes. And for a lot of these miniatures, that's it. That's all you're going to need to do. But for Johan, we have one final step, which is the black outline around his eyes, which, of course, we couldn't end this with things going smoothly. I ended up making mistakes here too. Namely, on the bottom part of his eye, on both eyes, the line got way too thick, and I ended up having to go over it with that skin color again. The biggest part of fixing mistakes like these is just knowing that you can use the color that was supposed to be be in a spot to kind of correct when lines got too wide or when a bit of paint got somewhere where it's supposed to be. Using that other color is really going to be a lifesaver for you. And in the end, maybe it doesn't look perfect, maybe that darker color shows through a little bit, but you really have to decide what you're happy with and how much time you're willing to put into things, because once it starts to become more stressful than it is enjoyable, it's really not worth doing. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this tutorial, and this one's a little bit different because I made a bunch of mistakes and you got to kind of see that stuff happens and it's just part of the process. But as you learn, each time gets a little bit better, but know that mistakes aren't the end of the world. Thanks for watching. See you next time.